What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to the EndZone. We have tons of stuff going on. Not only is it the middle of the USFL season, made it to the middle. I think that is first and foremost one of the most important things. But we have some XFL news coming up, and we just got off the back of a huge Major League Football announcement. They got, I believe, $10 million and they announced their head coaches, and I did a video breaking down the head coaches. So let's go ahead and go through your comments. We're streaming tonight from 6 to 6:30, as always, Central Time on Mondays. All right, diving into the very first question, where do you think the announcement is, or I think you meant to say, what do you think the announcement is for the XFL TV deal or cities? So I'm going to do a video on this tomorrow, but it will most likely be the TV deal with ESPN. We think that is where this is going to go. And I will post a video. Don't want to give it all away, but short answer, I would be betting that it's going to be TV and then cities a little bit later in the summer. It's still a little bit early for cities, but it's going to be very exciting getting that ESPN deal. It's going to be huge for the league. Even though Arkansas is set to have an MLFB team, the Arkansas Attack, will Arkansas ever have a team in the XFL if the MLFB doesn't work out? Well, they won't have a team in the first iteration of this new XFL. Maybe expansion, but that would be years down the line. Unfortunately, I don't think that Arkansas is one of the top places that the XFL or really any bigger league wants to be. Major League Football is a little bit different as they're going for these smaller, more concentrated markets, which is one of their strengths or weaknesses, depending on who you ask. I don't think that the XFL would have a team in Arkansas, but, have confidence in Major League Football because they are doing some pretty awesome things. Do you think Louisiana would be great to have an XFL franchise in Lafayette or Shreveport in the future? Well, it's going to be tough because we already know about the United States Football League having a team in New Orleans with the Breakers. So that's going to be a tough market to break into. But it's not impossible. I haven't been to either Lafayette. Actually, no, I've been to Lafayette. I haven't been to Shreveport, I believe. But again, anything is possible, but largely depending on the status of the future of the United States Football League and where that will go. All right, moving through towards some more questions, and I do want to talk about some things XFL related. I'll be watching the USFL and the XFL, but not much Major League Football, sorry, but all these leagues were smart. They would work together. In a perfect world, we would love to see teams and leagues work together, but unfortunately, that's not always the case. Do you think the MLFB will have a TV deal with CBS? It's hard to know what the MLFB is going to do for TV or if they're going to be exclusively streaming, especially in year one, where we know this is sort of an investor's season and how they're going to execute and do all of this. I really don't know. Honestly, I don't have the answers for that. Hopefully, they find some type of way for people to watch the games. I don't know if they're going to be able to get on one of these bigger networks. Have you heard of the rumors of XFL expanding to Las Vegas? Any thoughts? Yes, I have heard these rumors. A lot of great people have broken these rumors and talks. I think that Vegas would be an awesome market. You worry about where the team would play and if they could get really enough fans out to the games and make it, I guess, a market that has a good longevity throughout the season to get fans in the stands. Of course, it all comes down to if the XFL team in Vegas is actually winning. Recently, Danny Garcia and The Rock were in Las Vegas. We don't know if that means something. They could be there for a different business venture, but they could have been talking to people in Las Vegas about possibly getting one of those stadium deals that we know are in the works across the country. And we'll start having those leaks soon. I'm very sure of it about the stadiums. So that will give us some hints. That happened last time around. It happened a little bit with the USFL when we found out that it was coming to Birmingham. So we'll keep an eye on it. I would love to see a team in Vegas, if executed correctly, if they were able to get in a good stadium. I just wonder how that would work. I do have a little bit of worries. If you ask me, if it came down to a different West Coast team, I prefer San Diego. I think they would be a better market because they don't have an NFL team. I understand that Vegas is the hot commodity. It's the huge, big, attractive US city that has it all. It has the gambling, it has everything you can think of. It's very fun, but I just don't know if it's really a great choice for one of the original teams in the new XFL. Yeah, Ryan, I do want to cover this great USFL question. DeAndre Johnson playing for the entire game, and we got to see the offense totally unleashed. It actually, in turn, helped out the run game. Darius Victor, in particular, was a complete madman running the ball. We also got to see Trey Walker, who is really electric as a receiver and a runner. He can do a lot of different things. That backfield is that much more dangerous. And DeAndre Johnson also threw the ball well. I know he had that one red zone turnover, but it didn't end up hurting them. And he was able to get that offense going in the red zone. So I'll take the one turnover in the multiple touchdowns that they scored in a pivotal game against what I thought was the number 2 team in the league. You also got to talk about their defense. And then Luis Perez, man, if I'm the Generals, I may think about trading him, getting one more piece that you could use. Maybe it's an offensive lineman. We know those are rare in spring football. Maybe it's someone along the defense, any position that you could really think of that the Generals would have needs at. Maybe another wide receiver, a tight end. If you could make a trade, and we don't know if the USFL is really making trades. We haven't seen or heard of any of the teams doing it. That could be huge for the Generals because we need something from the Generals to bolster them into that number 1 spot. What about adding a piece? But then again, you're only as good as your backup quarterback. And Luis Perez could start really for a lot of teams in the United States Football League. So maybe it is smart to keep him in case something disastrous happens. So we'll see what happens. But watching that game, it made me so proud because if you watched my preview, my one worry was, are they going to do the 2 quarterback system? In fact, I picked New Orleans because I thought that they were going to mess around with this 2 quarterback system. They ended up not doing it. Generals win. So I think they've found what works, and what works is DeAndre Johnson as the starting quarterback. And man, he is fun to watch. Do you think some USFL players will opt out of their contract to go to the XFL? How would that work? Well, we don't know how that would work because I can't see the specific contracts, but I'm sure it could get a little bit messy if something like that happens. But we do know that the XFL is paying players more. So, I mean, really and truly, it's not really about loyalty. It's about who's going to pay the most. That's really about it. I think the USFL will lose a couple players also to the NFL. That's going to happen. Maybe not the CFL. We'll see what happens. But in any league that can offer more money to the players, that's where they're going to jump ship and go to, unless the USFL, is able to pay more. All right. Will the USFL be around for the second season? And just how many teams would they expand by? Well, to answer your first question, and a great question, I think that they will be around for season 2, unless maybe, their Fox investors, the people who are managing the league, they saw how their viewership was, and they said, "You know what? We don't think that this investment is worth it." But I don't think that they're gonna make that decision. So I think that they're going to expand into their cities. That in itself is a huge expansion. So I don't think in year 2 they're gonna have more than 8 teams. I think they're gonna stick with their 8 teams. Could they move some of the teams to different cities? Possibly. We'll see on that. But I will say this. I'm confident in year 2, unless something disastrous happens. I'm also confident that they want to expand because it's almost like they're expanding from 1 team to 8 teams, because they're adding 7 new cities after this whole hub city thing that they've been doing. So, Gabriel, great question. The USFL salary is a little different because, you have a base salary and then you also have perks for doing a lot of different things. So, winning, things like that. It's under $50,000, but there are a lot of tied in bonuses. So, if you win, you get bonus. If you get player of the week, things like that. If you make the playoffs, if you win playoff games, they actually will end up paying you more with compensation. So, there's no telling on what those perks are, but we know that's around 45K under 50,000, which really is not bad for 10 weeks of football. But, they also have to pay for their cost of living in Birmingham. They do get a little bit of a cut. Price is slashed for living in the hotel, things like that. But that is the minimum salary, average salary of a USFL player. If the USFL expands, will they expand to the other 8 teams they have the rights to? So I'm not quite sure if I understand your question, but I think that you're asking if they're going to go into the 8 cities. And I think that's what they're going to do next year, but they're not going to add any more teams. You're going to see the same teams, but in new cities, in their cities. So I guess not really new cities. When the Rock's XFL starts, how will the USFL react? Well, they're playing in different times of the year. So we're really, truly going to have football all year round. For one thing, I think the USFL is just going to keep doing what they do. There's no reason to focus too much on your competitor. If you're doing it right, if you're putting out a great product, then you should be successful. And I think that's just what the USFL needs to focus on. Focus on themselves, not the Rock in the XFL. Who is better this week, Paul Terry for the Stars or Darius Victor for the Generals? I'm going to go with Darius Victor. One reason is because Victor, I just love the way he plays, his physicality downhill, and he's so small and he's just got all of that momentum and power when he's running the football. Paul Terry, I enjoy watching him. I wish he got more touches, and I realize that's a lot to ask in this type of offense that loves to pass the football, but Darius Victor is just a difference maker, and he's been that. He was really good in the XFL as well, and it's nothing is changing. And I think that with DeAndre Johnson in at quarterback, I think that it gives him more opportunities and they get more running lanes because of the multiple running threats that the New Jersey Generals have. And that's why they're just so fun to watch, because they run the football so well. Is this the week Kyle Sloter gets rest and sit out for his health? Well, that's what I hinted at in my rankings video. That's what I think they should do. The New Orleans Breakers, Kyle Sloter was not himself, and he hasn't really been himself feels like the past 2 weeks, I feel that they should rest Kyle Sloter. The upcoming games, Pittsburgh Maulers, Michigan Panthers. They're out of their division, and they're not necessarily the greatest teams in the league. They're both bottom half, bottom tier. So if you ask me, what would I do? I would 100% give Kyle Sloter some rest because he's going to be pivotal in the last stretch of the season when they start to play the Stallions, the Bandits, the teams in their division, and they push for the playoff. Then they need to be on their A game in the playoffs. So I would 100% rest Sloter. Don't sacrifice 2 weeks of injury for, the whole entire season. I say rest Sloter, get him healthy, and then start thinking about postseason play because the Breakers are in position, but it's so tight. It is so tight. And hey, who knows? We could see good quarterback play from Zach Smith, the backup quarterback. Do you think the XFL is set up for better success? Just seeing all the things the XFL has been doing made me wonder how long it took for the USFL to reveal information. It takes time to reveal all of this information. And one thing that you kind of don't see is everything that's going on behind the scenes, especially what the XFL has been doing to recruit and get in players, talking to agents. They're really trying to get the best players possible. They are going I think that they're going to get more star power than the USFL, than the XFL 2.0, and the Alliance of American Football because of their reach, just having Dwayne The Rock Johnson's name attached. And if we get this ESPN exclusive announcement, that's going to be huge with Disney. I also think that the XFL with Danny Garcia and Redbird Capital, they're not only going to sell tickets to make revenue, I believe that they are going to do a lot more with their company. They've told us this is going to be an all year round football product for the fans. So they're going to be able to create multiple revenue streams. And that's something that I'm excited for. And I think that's something that the USFL has done well with the reality TV show that we've wanted since the Alliance of American Football with these spring leagues. And United by Football and the USFL has done an incredible job with that if you have watched. All right, I'm refreshing to get to some more of your questions. All right. I believe San Diego or Oakland would be a better fit for the XFL than Las Vegas, since both cities have starved for football team ever since their NFL franchises. Yep, I totally agree on that. I think San Diego or Oakland. I would rather have San Diego in the league. One, because the Alliance of American Football had decent success, and I don't want to make the AAF's markets kind of a staple for choosing a team because they didn't really do an incredible job marketing and getting fans out to games, and they lied about how many tickets they sold, things like that. But I would love to see San Diego. Maybe get Josh Johnson back in the league playing for his old city. What do you think the MLFB is more of a summer league than a spring league? Well, I'm not opposed to it. The USFL is basically a summer league right now. I mean, it's hot in Birmingham, Alabama. We saw it last week, and the final stretch of the season, it's going to be that summer weather and heat and humidity that you get in the summer. So, really, honestly, the USFL and the MLFB will be really competing with each other because they're both going to be in the summer. If the USFL expands to its other 8 teams, will the teams be the Arizona Outlaws, Chicago Blitz, Denver Gold, Jacksonville Bulls, LA Express, Memphis Showboats, Washington Federals, and the Oakland Invaders? You would think so, but I would hope that they would make some changes. Then again, I don't know if they would, because if they get people to purchase franchises in those big cities, then we may just get those. And of course, there will be, definitely will be some competition with the XFL. How many points do you think my Birmingham Stallions would beat the Jacksonville Jaguars by? I think they would lose. That is funny though. I do feel bad that you're a Jaguars fan. If it makes you feel better, I had James Robinson on my fantasy team last year, and that was fun. He got the Urban Meyer treatment. The XFL should do a team with no city affiliated, say like a Team 9, a traveling team that people with no current team in their city can rally behind. So you're saying in an actual team that actually plays just with no city. Well, I know that the new XFL is not doing a Team 9 or a practice squad team that is always ready to be activated. Instead, they're actually extending rosters and having larger practice squads so that the players can be ready for specific teams, which I think both are good. Either way, I mean, I couldn't look into the accounting of it. I don't have access to that. But my guess is that just extending the rosters and not having one practice team where you're paying coaches to coach those players, I think that would be, and paying for extra facilities, other things like that. I think that would probably save the league money, but that would be interesting. A no city affiliated team that travels and plays out. It would be fun. You know, it would be a way for people who don't have a team to rally behind a team. It's an interesting take. I like it. How worried should the USFL be? Most of these games in Central Hub area where no primetime games hurt this league not playing in these cities, might not recover. Well, they're doing fine on TV, and that's all that matters. They're not trying to sell tickets. They especially aren't trying to sell tickets. I mean, kids get in free. Tickets are $10, and $10 ticket gets you in for basically the whole entire day of games. So they're not really trying. They haven't shied away from the fact that this is made for TV, and they've been doing very well on TV. Do you think the XFL have leased the dome in St. Louis already? I think we would know if that were the case, or maybe they're really trying hard not to leak it. But I mean, there's no way they're not going to St. Louis. Do you think Pittsburgh will embrace the Maulers? I know they finally won this week, but Steelers fans know only one thing: Super Bowls and greatness. Well, I'd hope they embrace the Maulers. They may need to, especially when they expand next year to the actual cities, might need to make a coaching change because they have plenty of talent, plenty of good players, but I feel that coaching is the problem with the Pittsburgh Maulers. Do you think Jamar Smith should be the starter for the Stallions? Yes. The reason he has not been starting or getting as much playing time is because of his illness. He came in over the weekend and while playing a little sick was on fire, throwing darts, dimes all over the field, and absolutely incredible. So I 100% love Jamar Smith in this offense. Thank you, Spartan Warrior 64, for the super chat. Really appreciate that. When would MLFB start with only 4 teams? I believe. How long would the season be? It would be a short season with only 4 teams. And I really don't know. I'm worried about the timetable for the MLFB. It all feels last minute. How will the NFL XFL partnership help the XFL still? I'm confused. That's a great question. It really doesn't help either party. It's more of a marketing thing. When the XFL can say, in quotes, we are working with the National Football League, it attracts players to their league It attracts fans to their league because it kind of verifies it. It makes it legit. Doesn't make it a feeder league. Not really, no, because everyone in the world is trying to get to the NFL, even players who are in Pee Wee all the way up to high school to college. I mean, if you think about it, college football is really the ultimate feeder league to the NFL. But it's a whole nother conversation aside. It it I would say that the NFL Alumni Association partnership, which is a different association from the National Football League, is bigger because they actually train and work with free agents who are borderline NFL players throughout the year. And they're going to refer players to the XFL if they aren't getting signed into the NFL. I think that's bigger and honestly, from like an actual things that you can grasp onto, those are real big things. Having them NFL alumni telling players to go play for the XFL, I think is really big. Going through some more questions. Do you think the Breakers should start another quarterbacks? Yes, I think we covered this, Isaiah, but 100% we should see that. Again, thank you, Spartan Warrior. Awesome. Gotta love the Spartans. All right, I'm looking through some more questions as we only have 4 minutes. Here's the lawsuit question. I don't think that it has much ground. There, I mean, I think that was more Megan Rapinoe and her company trying to catch some of that media spin. I don't think it has much ground at all. Has Michigan Panthers given up on Paxton Lynch? Well, Lynch is still injured. Last week he was in a boot. So Kevin Sumlin is defensive coordinator, hacks, terrible second half coaching. Yeah. I mean, their second half coaching has been poor. Tim Lewis is a great coach, though. He coached in the Alliance of American Football, was the head coach of the Birmingham Iron. He's the defensive coordinator. I really think the problem is offensively. I mean, they just stall. And I think a lot of it is Clayton Thorson not being able to be a consistent quarterback. He is just, it's tough to watch because he makes throws that you're like, whoa, that's an incredible ball. But then he has overthrows. He has very bad mistakes. And then when it comes to the second half with Clayton Thorson, I really need to get the statistics and break down the numbers first half for second half, but it's not good. And it's not good at all. And I don't know what it is, but they really need to fix it. And part of it is just a mind thing. I think that they're getting in their own heads and they're not playing well in the second half because it's just a mind thing. And that's weird in sports to say, but it's true. Pittsburgh or Columbus? Love to see a team in Columbus. I don't know if that was what you're asking. I'm trying to rapid fire through for last 2 minutes. Who is your favorite, most likable coach in the USFL? Mike Riley. I love his story, what he's done, and I was a fan of him in the Alliance of American Football. Any idea on the Houston Roughnecks and what they'll look like? I think they'll have a different name. It will be interesting to see. Houston is a team that people are fringed on. Do we get a team in Houston? I don't know. Do you think the XFL should keep their championship the $1 million game? Just call it the X Bowl? I think they'll come up with something original. Do you think the talks between the XFL and CFL about interleague play is officially dead or on pause? I think it's honestly, I think it's dead, and the CFL has many more problems on their plate than partnering with another league. They got to make sure their league stays afloat. I'm meaning to do a video about this, but the CFL has just been poorly managed, and it's really sad because I love the league. ESPN, Marlon. The NFL team I root for is the LA Chargers. All right, trying to get through. It's 6:30, but I'm going to get through these questions. Do you think in the far future the NFL will drop practice squad players and send them down to the XFL? I think there always has to be practice squad players because one, they work as a scout team, and then in case there are injuries and you need to pull up players, I think that I don't know because the XFL has stressed time and time again they want to be independent, and they're going to also have different rule sets. There are different things. I don't think that they'll become an actual affiliated league. There's a lot of hoops to jump through, especially through the NFLPA. That's a whole different story. But the Alliance of American Football tried to do that. The NFLPA was like, wait, we need better insurance. They need better pay. There are a lot of hoops to jump through. What team do you have in the championship game? Who wins? I'd say Birmingham in New Jersey. I know that's not a very hot take right now, but I would say I'll go with the upset in New Jersey. Do you think the XFL and USFL should try to get a video game? I think the XFL will try to go with a video game, and I hope they go with 2K. The Edmonton Elks, and this is our final questions as it is 6:31. I got to eat me some dinner. The Edmonton Elks are dropping their new uniforms on Friday. They gave us some teasers. Yes, I saw those, and I'm excited to see what the product is. I'll be doing a video on those. I love the Winnipeg Blue Bomber uniforms. I know a lot of people hated them because of the giant W in the middle. I like them, but, that's my opinion. I will say this. I hope that the CFL has a season. I am extremely worried. I am very worried. With that being said, guys, we are at 6:32. We've streamed for 37 minutes and 6 seconds. I loved every second of it. Make sure you're out there moving the chains. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for your support. I'll see you next Monday, 6 o'clock Central Time to 6:30. Thanks for joining. Y'all have a great day.